Hello and welcome to another episode of Eva Media's World of Business Aviation podcast. Thank you for coming back. Thank you if it's your first time. As ever, let us know what you think. It's always very useful. I'm Paul Eden, editor of Eva Magazine, and joining me today I have Katie Bancroft. She's a senior associate at Jaffa and Co, a firm of super yacht and aviation lawyers. Katie, welcome. Thank you very much.
Hello, it's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
No worries at all. Now, you are a specialist in aviation. Now, I could probably better explain how PW600 engine works than what an aviation lawyer does. So can you give us a sort of a feel for what that actually means?
Sure. And there are different types of aviation lawyers to start with. So what I do specifically is transactional work for business aviation. So what I do day to day is helping people with the sale and purchase of business jets, helping people if they're financing an acquisition, refinancing perhaps. We look at management contracts, do some work for some MROs, but other aviation lawyers might do litigation. So we've got some lawyers here who do a bit of that, but they do yachting stuff as well. And then you might have regulatory aviation lawyers. So you might go and work at the CAA, which I think would be a very interesting job. But yeah, sale and purchase is my bread and butter.
Right. Okay. So you might have a client who comes to you and says, I or my boss wants to buy a jet. What do we do? But then someone might come to you and say, here's a contract we're considering. Can you check it for issues or recommendations?
Yeah, absolutely. And my favorite is like you say, when someone says, okay, my boss has told me we're buying this airplane. He's going to want to use it in, 2 months or something. Right. I have no idea. Help me. And I say, okay, great. So we've got this. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that person? And we gather the team because, it takes a village. You need all the different specialist people. And I love it because you get to help them all the way through. And there is so much, especially if you're a layperson, you're not in the industry. And if it's your boss, just, deal with this. I want to go on holiday to Mexico at Christmas time. It must be a difficult position to be in. And then, as you say, yes, someone might come and say, we're thinking about entering this, fractional ownership scheme. What do you think of this contract? That kind of thing. So, it's lots of different people.
So you could have someone with no knowledge at all coming to you and you work closely with them for, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. But then again, you could have something that drops into your inbox and it takes you 3 hours.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. And similarly, we have brokers that we work with quite often or lawyers on the other side that we work with quite often. And if I get a contract that's, from this person and I'm dealing with this person, I'm like, okay, cool. I know they know their stuff. They know I know my stuff. And it goes through quite quickly. So it's nice to see the whole range. And it's nice to feel part of, somebody's team for that little while. I like it.
Aviation to me is this kind of tiny global industry. People always seem to know one another. I'm guessing that's the same in your part of the business. So when you're working with a lawyer, as you say, on the other side, which I think is quite nice, when you're working with a lawyer on the other side, you get a feel for the way their mind is working through the problem. You probably know them already. Hey, this is a good person to deal with. They're tricky, whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah. And especially in the UK, I am blessed to have, a learned range of peers that, I come up against quite often. And they're all lovely people. They're all smart. And then we have with American transactions as well, you see, because they have so many and, there are so many more business jets over there, you get a wider range of lawyers and you might come up against more people that you aren't familiar with. And like you say, it is interesting to see people's perspective because there's a few points in the contract that can go one of either way, and people will say, this is my interpretation. No, this is my interpretation. And you can kind of think, right, okay, they're doing it that way. Okay, that's all right. So it's, getting an APA. I know this sounds really sad, but when you first get an APA, which is an aircraft purchase agreement, and you start reading it, you're like, right, now I'm going to find, how this is going to go, how the other side is. It's
Fabulous.
Fun for
Okay, all
me.
right. Now, when I think of law, just law in its entirety, my head sees this massive book full of
Mm,
words that mean almost nothing to me that you have to learn from cover to cover. And then
mm,
someone says, actually, I've got all that, but I want to be an aviation lawyer. So
mhm,
then you go and learn another massive book.
mm,
And I can't imagine that. There's lots of study,
mhm,
there's lots of years of work. Most people, I think, go a kind of university route, but I know that you kind of chose a much harder path, didn't you? It's just
mm.
how did that all work itself out?
Well, yeah, so I aviation chose me. I didn't choose aviation.
Okay.
So, yes, I started studying while I was working in a law firm as a legal secretary. And
Right.
then I had a boss at the time who said, you know, you could do this. And I thought, what? What you're doing? And they had studied by a route called legal executive route.
Right.
It's now chartered legal executive. So I began doing that. I got moved into the marine team in the office in Southampton,
Mhm.
and I started doing legal work, but with supervision,
Okay.
and it went progressed from there. I did more legal work. I did my studying.
Yep.
I got tired of telling people what a legal executive was, so I thought, okay, I'll become a solicitor then.
Right. Yeah.
So I did the extra work, and over that period, I went to London because I was interested in doing stuff there, see how that was.
Yeah.
The boats got bigger, the
Mm.
yachts got bigger, the commercial ships got bigger, and I'd known James of Jaffa and Co.
Yep.
Since his first day as an NQ. So I'd seen his work progress along, and on LinkedIn, on the super yachts in Monaco. Oh yeah, that looks nice. And then when he opened his own firm, I sort of liked the post, and we began talking from there. And that's when I got into the aviation side of things. But the interesting thing is, an asset is an asset is an asset. So you have a contract, and as a lawyer, you learn the basics of the contract and what this means and what that means. And each asset class has its own foibles. But there are sort of things that you can apply to each. So a house, for example, when you buy a house,
Yep.
it has a register. You can register a mortgage over it,
Mhm.
which is the same with a ship or an aircraft.
Yeah.
But there is specialist stuff to learn. And that's where I kind of got my teeth into it. And I was like, right, this is mine. I am learning everything about this. Like international registry, I can tell you.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, it was that bit of like, this is something new and this is something I can own, was where that kind of passion sparked.
Yep.
And then I was just like, every jets, they're all mine when the work comes in anyway.
So I'm thinking, so the introduction there was in the marine world. And
Mm,
I'm guessing that wasn't all ships. That was big old. That was yachts. It was big old ships that carry cargo.
mm,
It was all of that stuff.
mm.
But now some of your clients must have yachts and helicopters and a jet. So you're working for the same people or the same families or the same
Yes.
companies.
Yeah, that's the trifecta. That's what the ship, the heli, and the
Yeah.
jet. Yes, and there's quite a lot of cross referral, and we're based at Farnborough Airport. We have a Monaco office and a Mayfair office as well. I'm at Farnborough Airport. It's awesome. Lawyers are normally in skyscrapers.
Yeah.
It's all grey. Here, there's jets out the window. And when we have clients come here and they're not aviation clients, with their yacht clients, they love it. They look out the window and they see these jets, and it's awesome. So yes, each side is usually quite interested in the other, which is nice. I do yacht work when
Right.
my clients need a bit of help, but
Yeah.
they don't fly. So
No, so they're not quite as interesting. Okay, so I'm sensing that this aviation bug, right? So you met James and you kind of
Mhm.
got into aviation, but I'm sensing that that bug was probably already there. That it doesn't just spark at that moment. Has aviation have planes always had an interest for you?
Not so much, I wouldn't say. Not past, the usual, I'm going on a plane to go on
Yeah.
holiday.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So it kind of all opened up when I started at Jaffa and Co. and when we were at the airport and you see these aircraft out the window. And I would, if you stop to make a cup of tea or something and you look out the window and you're like, or I was at one point, okay, so there's two small aeroplanes. They look quite similar to me. And
Hmm.
then you look them up, and one's a, I don't know, Citation XLS, and the other's a Phenom
Yeah.
300 or something. And I slowly taught myself how to differentiate between the two. And then it would sort of become that I was the person people would say, what's that out there? Oh, that's a Falcon 200. That's a PC-24. So yeah, it kind of grew. And also, as I say, the legal aspects, the little foibles that were really interesting to me. And then also just the interesting stuff. And I don't, perhaps it's not interesting to other people, but I always want to know, you know, how does the divan work? What's the bathroom like? How much storage can you fit in here? The PC-12, for example, blows my mind that, you know, people put like 3 sedated lionesses in the back. Someone else might put a motorbike in the back. It's crazy. But I love that kind of stuff. And it's so interesting to me, the different uses for the aircraft as well. I see Learjets outside that are medical ambulance flights. That interests me. I think, imagine if I went skiing and hurt myself and then ended up in a Learjet. I find it fascinating.
Yeah, right. Okay. So I sense that you're a person who can't stand not to know is perhaps part of it. So that's business jets. They're parked out there. How do you manage to do any work? How do you not sit and stare out the window the whole time?
Well, when we came to Farnborough Airport, we were in Hangar 1, so we had the best view out of the window in Hangar 1 straight onto the ramp. You could see everything take off. It was amazing. And then after a little while, we moved into the terminal, and the good thing for some people about the terminal is that it's a bit more soundproofed. Right. So I would hear I have to look out the window. What is that? But now it's a little bit less. And I'm also like, oh yeah, no, that's the King Air. That comes every day. And I think going as well to having the opportunity to go to conferences and go on board aircraft, and you get a bit more familiar with them. You're a bit less like, ooh, what's that? I need to look. But no, if I hear an unusual noise, I do want to look out the window. My desk is luckily near the window, so it doesn't interrupt me too much.
So having taken all that on board, I'm going to throw back at you, but every 2 years you have the Farnborough Air Show.
Yes.
That has got to be just the biggest distraction for an av geek.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Like, you'll be sitting here and you'll just see whoosh, and you'll hear, and you're like, oh, where have they gone? And someone's, they're practicing the demonstration, and you want to look out the other window. Oh, I can see them over there. And yes, I think it's like an airport wide problem, because they send an email that says, like, tenants, you're no unnecessary being outside, like, for safety reasons you have to be inside. And it's the demonstrations, especially, like, I think that's a reason to look out the window. I don't mind if I spend 10 or 15 minutes looking at that. I will make it up at the end of the day.
Yeah. And of course, you're on the side of the airfield where a lot of the display items park and then taxi on display, aren't you?
So. Yeah. I think that's sort of up the
right. Okay. But you're opposite the crowd, aren't you? For the show, more or less. Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay.
One really cool thing was we had a little while ago now, actually, we had the Red Arrows come. They were stopping here to go to an air show somewhere else. Right. And I think it was about 12 or maybe 13, all lining up. Wow. Perfect precision. It was so cool. And then we went outside for that one. That wasn't like all chill gone out the window. Like, I am fangirling. I can't help it. And we stood and we watched, and it was really amazing to be that close. And then the pilots came out and they gave me a badge.
Oh, wow. Nice.
That was really cool.
Yeah. So I've just thought there, because you're at a business aviation airport and these jets coming and going, you must sometimes have a jet turn up and you look at the tail number and think, hey, that was one of mine. I did that.
The cool thing about that is there's two sides of it. One, it's always, for me, I love seeing a jet that I've worked on. It puts it all into reality, I guess. You see it there in front of you and you think, I helped buy that. Which is really cool. And I've had a couple of Christmases ago, I got a message from a pilot who said, oh, the aircraft's coming in if you want to go see it. So I came, and the owner was there. It was the first time they saw the aircraft. Got to pop my head inside, and it was a little bit of a special one. So that was really cool. And he was beaming because he was off to Mexico for Christmas, which was lovely. And then the other way it is interesting is if I know the pilot fairly well, I can text and say, oh, I've seen your, G650 outside. Are you around? Yeah, I'm staying in the Aviator. Oh, maybe we should have a drink or something. So then you catch up and what's your owner doing, and any interesting, they still like their yacht, still like their helicopter, that kind of thing. And you just, catch up and get a bit of information and stuff. So it's lovely. And quite often I have pilots and other people from businesses on the app in the airport just pop their head in and say, right, can you certify some documents? Which is like, which is one my bonus. Right. Other people get cool like mates rates things, and I'm like, I can certify your passport if you'd like.
Yes, right. Okay.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely to be on the airport.
Yeah, I have to ask. No one's listening, so it doesn't matter. Have you had any trips?
I have. Yeah, very infrequently now, especially after COVID. But I've had I've been lucky to have one that was a nice little jolly, and a few that have just, because I'm that sad that if someone says this aircraft is positioning from Farnborough to Bournemouth, I'm like, oh, me.
Yes,
I'll go on it. I want to hear how quiet or not quiet is. I want to see what the takeoff feels like. I want to see what the cabin pressure feels like. They always say everything is different in the air, from a point of remedying discrepancies on an aircraft as part of a purchase transaction. Yes. So you have your test flight to make sure that everything is actually fixed and everything's working. So I'm the same. I'm like, I've been on board when it's on the ground. I'd love to be on board while it flies, only if that only takes 20 minutes. And a funny one was when my mum came over. She lives in Sweden. Right. And I would say to her, oh, I'm busy today. I'm closing a transaction. I'm helping buy whatever. And she would say, how do you do that? And I'm like, thanks for the confidence, Mum. So she came over, and I was really fortunate to put her on a little positioning flight. Nice. From Farnborough to Stansted. But it was nice to be like, this is what I do. This is what I'm doing at the end of the day. This is what people are getting excited about. She was very well behaved, and then there was rail replacement on the way home. So it was a bump down to reality.
Yeah. I realize that. I don't think you can genuinely be involved in this industry unless you properly experienced it. So I think it is important to do that. And I'll always say to people, you need to go out there, you need to get close to a plane, because every time I do it, I think that is so cool. It doesn't really matter what it is. It's just so cool. Absolutely. Now, thinking about sort of introducing people to the industry, all that kind of thing. When you and I were speaking or emailing in the past, you mentioned how you had seen, I think, the Red Arrows maybe on that occasion, and you thought, wow, a little boy would love this. And then thought, no, actually, why wouldn't a little girl love this too? Yeah. And although there are obviously more women around in aviation now than there ever have been, there kind of still aren't enough. And I think perhaps that's because girls aren't exposed to the opportunity. Have you got any thoughts on, is that important to you? Is that something that you feel maybe even yourself as a role model?
Definitely, 100%. For me, what I realized was, as you say, the immediate thought is, oh, a little boy would like this. Anyone would like it. It's really cool. And when I came into aviation, I didn't really know that this industry existed before I came into it. And I think, how many other people don't know? And I have these two mottos. One is, you can't be what you can't see. If you don't see, I didn't see female pilots. So when I was a child, I didn't realize you could be one. And the other is, be the change you want to see in the world, which is, it's a bit cheesy, but at the same time, that means I should be visible. If I want people like me to aspire to come into this industry, and I think it's really important, diversity, full stop, not just women, but, people of ethnic minorities, different backgrounds, all of that stuff. Diversity helps bring new ideas. It makes things flourish. So if I want that, and I want to help achieve that, I've got to be visible. So I'm a big believer in being out, social media, in the real world, saying, hey, do you know this exists? Especially here in Farnborough, because there are, some parts of Farnborough that are have less advantage.
Mm.
What would you say? Less opportunities than
Yep.
other areas,
Yep.
and this is on their doorstep. And you know, if you said to a child there, "Do you know Farnborough Airport?" They might say, "Yes." There are pilots, there are cabin crew there.
Mm.
There's so much more, like not even just like engineers, but you know, the people in the air traffic, which they have a huge shortage of at the
Right.
moment. The whole industry, in fact, even lawyers. We need more.
Yeah.
So there's just so much to do,
Yeah.
and I really believe that people need to know more about it and see it more. I'm at the moment championing for getting involved in the Farnborough Airport careers fairs, where lots of different companies get together and say, "Hey, this is what we do," because you know, you get young people, they're paralegals, they train, they become solicitors. Yeah, I think it's
Mm.
really important.
Yeah. I spoke to someone recently who their company had gone to a careers fair, and they had a man and a woman manning their booth, or staffing their booth, I should say. And they noticed that the girls were interested in what this company did, but they only tended to go and ask the woman. They didn't go and speak to the man. So I think you have to have that diversity within the
Yeah,
company to attract the diversity to the company.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
and I think that's sort of goes back to the "you can't be what you can't see"
Yeah.
thing, because I mean, I know the industry is getting better, and lots of people are making an effort. But when I look in a magazine and I see a picture and it's, "Ooh, look at this event we did," or "these people did this," and it's 12 men,
Mm. Yeah.
my heart sinks a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's not, "Oh, you know, invite me because I'm a woman." But when I want to look and see something I relate to, or
Mm.
and it's the same with those girls. I think they might think, you know, is this a place I could fit in?
Mm.
And that's why they go to the lady. But yeah, it's going to change,
Yeah.
and you know,
Yeah.
next gen and all that.
Yeah, absolutely is going to change. It needs a change of attitudes from everyone, men and women alike, I think. And I can guarantee you, if four people stand in front of a jet and a group of, I hate to say it, journalists walk up there and there are three women and a man all dressed the same, everyone will assume the man is the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen that 2 or 3 times where they've just wanted to, oh, so you're the pilot? No, no, I'm the cabin crew.
Mm.
What? And it's still surprised me. I absolutely shouldn't. But anyway, we could talk about that all day. We best not, because I have two burning questions left for you.
Yeah.
The first one, it seems to me obvious that you should either fly, be a pilot yourself, or learn to fly. Is that something that's on the cards for the future?
I'm super excited to be going to the Lasham Women's Gliding event at the end of April.
Right.
So that's like a taster day. Um, you know, no engine, but it is up in the sky.
Yep.
So I'm super excited about that. And then I have friends who you know, in the industry who fly, who are instructors in some cases, and they
Right.
say, "Katie, you've got to do this. You've got to do this." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, I've got to save for this and save for that." They're like, "No, no, 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 just do it." So I really mean to. I'm thinking it's gonna happen. But for the time being, I think the gliding is going to be amazing. I can't wait. But I'm scared of heights. But you know, I love being on an aircraft, and you know when you get a bit of turbulence and stuff, and you're like, "Oh, are we going to be on big jet TV? Like, is this landing going?" And it's you. I know a lot of people find it scary, but it's kind of, you're like, "How's he going to do?" Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
So I want to know where the fear of height ends and the passion for flying begins.
Yeah.
That kind of threshold. But yes, no, it's I want
So
it. I want to. It's on the list.
I spoke to a test pilot once who said he had been afraid of heights forever. And I said, but you're a test pilot. And he said, oh, yes, but it's different if there's nothing between your feet and the ground.
Ah.
It's what you're standing on that you're
Mm-hmm.
kind of afraid of. It doesn't feel like a
Mm.
drop if you're flying. Okay, fair enough. But I've also heard that gliding is like the purest form of flight and really where everyone should start. So yeah,
That's
and a
good.
glider, of course, when you're in a glider, it sounds a bit like a jet because all you hear is the wind whistling past. So it's a nice experience. You're going to love
Yeah.
that. And I predict probably if we have this conversation again in 18 months, I predict
Mm.
you'll have a PPL. So we'll see how that goes. So the second of those burning questions, and I can tell that this is going to be a tricky one, is
Mm.
have you got a favorite aeroplane or helicopter and why?
Oh, see, that's an interesting question. I can think of three off the top of my head.
Go on then.
So
We'll
I
let you
have
do three.
personal favorite.
Yeah.
Was an aircraft that was at the Farnborough Airport. It wasn't anything special. I just really liked the paintwork, and I called it the Purple Power Ranger. It, some of the planes have nicknames, and I just thought it was cute and I liked it. But it's not here anymore. So that's a personal favorite.
Okay.
A favorite as just a model of aircraft, G700.
Oh, okay.
I was so desperate to see it for the longest time, and I saw it, going to the Middle East, and then it went to Paris Air Show, I think, and I wasn't there. But then it came to Farnborough, and I got the invite from Gulfstream to go. I'm a bit of a Gulfstream fan. They know.
Good.
And I saw it for the first time, those 10 windows, and I went on board and I touched the seats, and I thought, oh my god, this is lovely. So if I were to have airplanes, if my pockets were endless, I would have a G700. I'd also have a PC-12 because they are so versatile and so cool, and they can land on crazy stuff. You can fly into Courchevel, fly out from Courchevel. They have the coolest liveries. But going back to the favorite question, favorite airplane that I haven't seen that I'm desperate to see, Taylor Swift's 7X.
Right. Okay.
I was sorry, excuse me. I was sad when she sold her Falcon 900 because that's the other thing. She's an American, but she has Falcons, which she's an astute lady. There's a reason she has Falcons, not Gulfstreams. But that aircraft, the 7X, she's got 13s stitched into the back of the seats, which is so cool because that's her lucky number.
Right.
But she always flies into Stansted.
Oh.
Come to Farnborough, girl. We've got the stuff here. It's a lovely facility, lovely FBO.
Yeah. See, I'm certain that she's a fan of this podcast, even though we're only maybe 5 or 6 episodes in. I'm certain that she's, hi Taylor. Thanks for all your support. I'm certain that she watches, and she will she'll definitely be in touch in the next couple of days. If she comes to me, I'll just forward her on to you, and it'll all be fine.
Lawyer for your next acquisition.
Your next acquisition. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we should do. Okay. So that has been absolutely wonderful. We've learned so much there about aviation law, about aviation, and about this new pilot who's about to arrive on the scene as well. Thank you, Katie, very much for that. This has been just a fabulous conversation. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us, everybody. As ever, if you've got any ideas what we can do better, or any other guests, that's you, Katie, as well as anyone else, do let us know, and we'll see if we can get them on. But for the time being, thank you very much.